The law of the playground. The terrifying system of unwritten traditions, games, taunts and insults that rule the happiest days of every schoolchild in Britain. Joeys, gaylords, fannies, knobs, you get the idea.
Mac.
Sir.
McGuinness.
Yes, sir.
Casey.
Here, sir.
Collins.
Sir.
Godliman.
Sir.
Horn.
Yep.
Kay.
Here, sir.
Lee.
Yes, sir.
Darby.
Here, sir.
Boyle.
Here.
Middlemiss.
Here.
Reeves.
Here.
What's the worst thing you can buy from a second-hand shop? What? Second-hand bog paper? Do you get it?
Yeah.
You get second-hand bog paper?
School was great. I met people I don't keep in touch with. I was taught stuff that was of no practical use to me. I learned life lessons which I have now forgotten. Pretty much it set me up perfectly for real life.
Would your parents be impressed if they knew how you behaved?
Break time.
I've got my book. Can I show you my book? This would be games that we would play at break time. Privet.
We used to reenact scenes from films at break, especially Annie. For some reason, I always wanted to be Molly, the really squeaky kid in Annie. And we'd have, I think Charlotte was Annie, because she had red hair. And we all had our separate, and we used to act out the same scene.
Off-ground tig we used to play. That was a good one. Where if your feet were on the ground, no one could tig you. But it got a bit silly where you'd like be stood on a straw, you know, or a bottle top. I'm off the ground.
We tended to play a lot of skipping games, hopscotch. There was a French skipping with the elastic that we'd tie around two people's ankles and then jump in between. I think it was England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales, inside, outside, donkey's tails.
One person is on and thinks of 3 records, but they have to sing part of it, e.g., if you're gonna do it, right, do it with me. And if the person says one word from either of the song, this is where it becomes a bit, what? From either of the song, the person who had it steps forward and has to chase the person to a certain place. If they catch them, they're on. If they don't, the person does it again. When the person on gives the song to the others, don't tell them which. It's just rubbish.
We used to do that game with a piece of paper. I don't know what it's called, but we'd always write an insult in there. So everything would be really nice, like, oh, you know, the guy you fancy loves you, you will have 4 kids, you look beautiful today, really nice things, and then one would just be, you smell of bum.
But particularly stupid was the idea of hide and seek in a sealed, fenced-off playground. We got into this thing where somehow we felt we couldn't be seen if we crouched in the corner of the playground and did this. And all that would happen is that the person that was seeking would just look around and go, oh, look, there's that person crouching in the corner with their hands on their face.
But what it's got at the back is a list of games that we already know, which are boring. If you could see that, boring. And these are ones that we're bored of. Hide and seek, follow my leader, tennis, polo, mother may I, wrestling, Madonna game. Madonna spelled M-A-D-D-O-N-E-R.
The bell's for me, not for you.
Guest speakers.
We had the Green Cross Code Man. He came in, and it was dead exciting because he played Darth Vader, didn't he? So that was brilliant. So we were like amazed.
When you get to the curb, always stop, stop, stop.
We had a policeman come in who taught us about don't go off with strangers, and then for the finale he got an Alsatian out the back of his van and he ran across with a plaster cast on and the dog wrestled into the floor. So that was the pièce de la résistance.
We had Welephant. Welephant was a guest speaker. An elephant who was the mascot of the fire brigade. His big message was the fire brigade are great, I'm sure they are, and if you ever go like that to a fireman, then and he's going past in a fire engine, he'll do it back. What he didn't say was it has a shelf life. You know, if you do that age 7, chances are a fireman will go, brilliant, good to see you as well, kid. If you do that age 21, they're most likely to think you're taking the fucking piss.
There was one time, bless,
There's a dance company that had come in. And this guy, he was doing a dance and he had nothing but cycle shorts on. And he got an erection. And he was literally going, like punching himself because he had a massive hard-on. And everyone was just going, oh no, all the teachers. All the teachers were just laughing their heads off. And he did it. He did the dance with a big stonking hard-on.
We had a man with a fox who came and gave it. Can you imagine that? He brought his fox, and it was brilliant. We all had to queue up to touch the fox. And it was really frightened, but I think he'd broken its legs. And it certainly didn't walk in. I think he carried it in, and that was that.
Would you prefer lines or detention?
Smoking.
About half my class smoked and half didn't, and the ones who didn't were very pious about the smoking. I just went, that's really stupid because, you know, it's really bad for you. And you go, yeah, but so? And that was the heated debate that we'd often have at break times about, you know, the boons and the minuses of smoking.
If you sort of sucked an excessive quantity of polos, it was pretty much a dead cert that you were on 20 a day.
Twosies. Twosies we had at our school, whereby if someone didn't have a cigarette and you had a cigarette, they go, oh, can I get twos on that cigarette? Can I go twos with you? And that meant halfway down, you'd hand it over to them. Then, if that wasn't enough, there was tab as well as the label on the cigarette. Someone had got twos already and you didn't have a cigarette, you go, can I get tab? So then you get the label. And then after tab, when the label had burnt away and there was like a millimetre left, you could go, can I get filter? But I only ever saw one kid ask for filter, and he was the same kid who ate mud if you told him to.
We used to buy singles. Do you ever do that? You know, singles from the ice cream van, 5p. And nobody, even the teachers used to go and buy them. They would queue up with us, the teachers, to buy single. They didn't go, excuse me, I don't think you should be selling cigarettes to children for 5p. No one cared. It was like, single. The teacher go, hey, 2 singles. I was first.
It was always Benson and Hedges. Everyone smoked Benson and Hedges. Or maybe Silk Cut when you thought about cutting down when you were 14.
It was like you kind of gesticulate with your hand with the cigarette. It was like you'd make as much of it being on your hand as possible to be like, so anyway, and I said to him, so everything was bigger than it should have been when you were smoking at school.
Sometimes you'd do that, you know, and you'd let it hang down the front like that. That's quite a good way of smoking. And then towards the end, when it got short, you'd do that with it as well. And finish it like that.
And then there was the great one when you were smoking at school and you were trying to hide it from the teachers, so you'd have it so you're doing that. So the cigarette would go up into your hand, and hopefully the smoke would then go up into your sleeve, so you sort of got away with it.
Spit that out.
Dinners.
The packed lunchroom, which was kind of off from the main dining hall, it was kind of like Bartertown in Mad Max 3 Beyond the Thunderdome, whereby food was currency.
In your lunchbox, you'd always have like a trio or a club biscuits, and sandwiches on a good day would be ham, on a bad day, crab paste.
Crisps were probably the top-rated currency because, you know, your mum could buy good crisps or bad crisps. Pity the kid who had Tesco's own brand crisps. It was like, you're not going to get anywhere with those. You're clearly new to Bartertown.
It said how rich your parents were about what was in that lunchbox. If you had Brown's or wholemeal bread, your parents had a bit of cash. If you had just white bread, and if you had jam or peanut butter sandwiches, you know, you're living on the borderline.
We're all sat round the lunch table in the hall, and everyone's going, who's got egg sandwiches? Who's got egg sandwiches? So I opened up my Spider-Man lunchbox. Of course, Muggins has got the egg sandwiches. I look down at them, there's a bloody great handprint. There's a massive great handprint in the top of my egg sandwich. And you know why? Because dads do it. When dads make your sandwiches, for some reason, they feel the need to go like that.
So what they did is they insisted that you had some of everything at lunch. You could have a small, a very small, or the largest portion you could have was an ordinary. I very seldom wanted an ordinary because the food was often disgusting, particularly if it was croquette potatoes. Their take on Italian cuisine, their macaroni cheese, was disgusting, as was their gooseberry pie. Well, their gooseberry pie may have been excellent. I've never been offered gooseberry pie elsewhere.
School pizza, square. I mean, pizza is round. That's what pizza is. But these dinner ladies, who were all collectively Irish, decided that square pizza was the way forward.
The second the plate drops, everyone goes, "Oh, hey!" And still to this day, I guarantee, if you are in a restaurant and a plate smashes, there is a pause of about 3 seconds where nobody says anything. It just freezes in time, because everybody's thinking the same thing. If anybody else does it, I'm joining in.
PE.
England continually loses at all sports. Possibly that's because your first exposure to sports is putting beanbags into rubber circles of increasing distances away.
I really did like PE, in particular the trampoline. And I remember at the time the pop band Bros had a video out where they did a lot of trampolining. It's called Drop the Boy, the song was, as I recall. And I remember I actually had the Union Jack boxer shorts that they had on under my pleated gym slip, and I would strike their poses that they made in the video. It was the whole reason for getting on the trampoline.
If you didn't bring your kit, you had to do it in your knickers. I can definitely remember that, because on more than one occasion I had to run around in my vest and my pants like a nonce. The people pointing at me and throwing balls at me on many occasions, not the good kind either.
If you really tightly grip a rope, I'm getting it a little bit now, just reminiscing, you get kind of like a feeling in your groin, and when you're like 6, 7, 8, you don't know what this is, but you just know that staying at the top of a rope, holding on really tightly, is a nice feeling.
The pick and team thing was always very degrading, obviously, because you knew straight away. You might as well just go around school with the numbers 1 to 50 on you and say 1's the best, 50's an idiot, because that's what every games thing was. It was just like, you, and you just saw this poor little kid there with his little red legs, who'd never seen any daylight, all fat and clever. Because they never got the glory. They never picked for maths, did they? They never said, right, let's pick the maths team. He never had his glorious moment of going, and now it is my moment. It was just PE. It was just embarrassing and humiliating.
The last person to get the pick, you usually, like, about 20 years after leaving school, are the ones you see on the news. And you go, yeah, I thought he'd do that. You know, village, all dead.
The one thing you always have to remember in rounders, otherwise you're out, is hit the ball, drop the bat. That was the one that got me every time, and I used to always be out because I wanted to take it with me. It's nice. Smack, leave, no, now you're out. How is that fair? Now I'll suck, and I'm going to actually call you stupid bitch behind your back.
I played rugby under duress, so I used to have to go and play these rugby matches on a Saturday, and until one of the kids grabbed my balls and swung me round in a full 360 degrees and let me go, still holding me balls, and that was the end of my sporting career.
Are you a light bulb or a candle? A light bulb. So you get turned on by a knob. A candle. So you get blown out by a puff. Safety in numbers.
Assembly is, without doubt, the greatest event in any school ever. Religious studies, sexual education means nothing. You can have the most fun in assembly. You just hear, and the teacher was like, bastard, because they knew it was, and then from the other side of the hall, and you know, they can't stop it. It was power in numbers assembly. It's everyone together.
And the best fun to have at that was getting your watch and shining the sunlight into their eyes, especially if it was a guest speaker or something, like a local police or a fireman. That would really annoy them up. And then when digital watches had just come along, you and your mate sort of just syncing up the alarms to go off at about 30 seconds of each other. That was really effective.
When there was applause, round of applause, yeah, well done, well done. Gonna get the last clap in. Everyone's finished clapping, got the last clap in? Yeah, wicked skills.
Parquet flooring. Quality, proper parquet flooring. Brilliant for brewing a fart. You try brewing up a fart on a laminate. It won't work.
I remember Lanky, he belched really like a proper full-on belch in assembly, proper full-on. And then everyone laughed, and then when the laughter died, he very loudly went, "Excuse me!" And he got out of it because it was, he got in a bit of trouble, but he went, I had to belch, I had no control over it, it just came out, and the teachers couldn't punish him for it.
No running in the corridor.
Graffiti. This is verbatim. Brad eats fish and is a bison and a wanker.
My favourite graffiti was this piece that was beside our bus stop that said, "Kerry Matheson is a slag." I spent years looking for her, And by the time I found her, she died from AIDS.
There's a bison at my school called Brad who's a wanker and he eats fish. You can't top that for a piece of graffiti. It makes no sense. It's brilliant.
My best friend recently found a pencil case that she'd had at school. And it's like got Jane Loves, and then it's like a boy's name scribbled out, another boy's name scribbled out, another boy's name scribbled out to somebody else. And then she's got Mel Loves NIP, no one in particular. Or SIP, someone in particular. That's when she actually fancied someone.
I used to always like the graffiti that was sort of on a history book, in kids' version of history, when Khrushchev met Kennedy. Kennedy had his cock and balls out, and Khrushchev was going, "Suck on it!"
88, I remember being a big thing. In the year 1988, when you wrote the year, you would write it 8, T, letter T, 8. Can't ever do that again, before or since. That one special year where you could write that. Well, you could write 98 or 78. So it doesn't work though.
There was a kid at school who'd written, again, legendary graffiti up in Hampstead Station, and he'd got his marker pen out and he'd written "fuck the station" on the sign. It was there for years, and it was like, wow, yeah, what a brilliant thing to write. Fuck the station, yeah. Yeah, fuck the station.
Tipp-Ex was a great way to deface many a death. So what we do is we'd pour Tipp-Ex, we'd pour as much Tipp-Ex as we could. We'd get our compass out, back pocket, and we'd be like, right. And we'd start scratching away in the Tipp-Ex and actually writing quite boring things like Jason Donovan forever. You know, I love Mel and Kim. And in fact, I remember it took a lot of Tipp-Ex to do this. We did like a whole line of Tipp-Ex, and we just wrote Tay, 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 Tay. Tay, you ain't never gonna be respectable.
I'm not here for the good of my health.
Extracurricular.
Because of the desire to go to university from the age of 5, I made sure I did everything. I was in choir, violin, piano I would do after school, art club. I even formed a philosophy group, which was a philosophy discussion group, which was really boring. We didn't know anything.
I never understood the concept of, do you want to stay a bit longer in your own time? People used to do it, didn't they? People would say, you can stay behind and do an extra hour of computer class. And they'd do it. We'd be like, why? Why are you doing this?
I was a member of the chess club at school. And no matter how many cool things you try and do after that, take the mickey out of teachers, it'd always come back to the fact, aren't you the lad who's in the chess club? We're like, yeah, but, you know, I pushed that teacher over, it doesn't matter, you're in the chess club, you're a spod. And so there's nothing really you could do after a while to get away from the stain of being a spod.
A young archaeologist, so I did that a lot. Obviously, it's what young people want to do with their time, dig about the trowels and wash bones.
Sometimes the teachers would come along and join in a game as well for an extra bit of fun. And then once when they caught us playing chess with the teachers, I just remember going home with a lot of dead arms.
So our school, after school, was showing films to people for 20 pence to go towards the minibus fund. And we watched 3 films. The first film we watched was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The second one was a film called Shogun Assassin, which involved beheadings. And the third one was a film called Exterminator, where a man goes through a mincing machine. And all 3 of them were subsequently banned in the following years. And then it just disappeared and was never talked about again. We were absolutely terrified. We'd never seen a horror film in our lives. We were 13.
We got the option of you could either do sport or you could go out and dig old ladies' gardens up. And I went for the latter, and me and my friend got this brilliant old woman, and we'd go around to her house on a Thursday afternoon, and she'd say, right, first of all, go down and get some cakes. So we'd go down to the baker's, get some cakes. Then she'd pour us a whiskey, and then we'd gamble, and she'd take our money off us, and we'd watch like an old George Formby movie, till the headmaster found out, came round and said, you're going to have to go off and do some proper digging at someone else's house.
People that volunteered to be at school any longer than the school day were just weird. Weird, really swotty, or maybe came from a broken home. They didn't want to go home because mum and dad were drunk.
Put it away or have it confiscated.
Pornography.
In the bushes on the way home from school, there'd be sort of torn copies of porno mags, which is a gold find. It's 10 points immediately.
The first one I saw was the damp one in a bin, and I just remember being utterly horrified by it. I mean, the thought that women might look like that down there. I mean, it was sick-making. It really was.
People go, look at this, look, it's a breast, oh my God. You know, everyone was gobsmacked by a breast. But now, if it's not an old woman defecating into a plastic bag, no one wants to know, do they?
I never bothered with like the Men's World or the Mayfair, and it's just too glossy. Just far too glossy. But Parade, it was £1.20 and it was filth. I loved it.
I used to quite like the letters that you get in porn mags, like even as a kid, you know, that stuff. 'Cause it'd never sort of be enough that this guy had shagged some women in some really unlikely way. There was always like a couple of sentences at the end where he'd sort of go, and that was just his start. There's always a whole summer of pumping that secretary, wasn't there?
And I remember every Friday night, we would all look forward to the Red Triangle film. I would wait for my mum to fall asleep. My mum would maybe fall asleep at 11 o'clock. Come 11:30, come the witching hour. There's the Red Triangle. I'm going at it like a Burke.
Judy Blume's Forever was the best book ever, of course. Nobody bothered to read the whole thing, just the special pages, you knew where they were.
We'd all know that page 81, go to the library, it was really well thumbed, page 81, and there was this quite explicit scene where they would do it.
Wow, that was just like, that tipped us over the edge. We'd mark that page, we'd take our Forever book into school, and we'd read that page over and over again.
It was a video called Animal Farm, and everyone heard about this video.
And when you hear about that film, Animal Farm, because it sort of does the rounds, that film, and everyone, oh, Animal Farm, you know, so they're at it with horses and pigs and chickens and all that, and you're going, ooh. But when you actually see it, oh, it scars you.
And I still to this day get weak knees when I think of the Doberman bit, seeing its little... Oh. I don't think it was a real nun, but I know the dog was real.
I've actually brought one of my school reports in, which I find fascinating. This was my headmaster's summary. It actually says, sooner or later, Lee will realise that joking around in class will get him nowhere in life. And I brought another one of my reports in. Oh no, sorry, that's my BAFTA.
Stop your messing around.
Well, Alan Carr and JLC are getting lessons in Brainy from Carol Vorderman doing the Friday Night Project at 10:30. Next up, who's it gonna be? An ex-housemate is going back in Big Brother.